been reading all the questions underneath my arm knitting videos. I do read them every day. You guys post them. It's just hard to answer all of them. So I figured I'd write down the most popular questions. And I have 11 written down here. And I figured it'd be easier to just make a video and answer them the best that I can. So let's get started. A popular question that I've been getting is what happens if you have to put the project down, because obviously your arms are tied up in the yarn, and it is hard to get it off of your arms. Obviously you wouldn't be able to put it down in an emergency unless you want the whole project to just fall apart. So I guess the best solution to that would be to try to plan at least an hour of free time. That way you can sit down and finish the project all in one step without having to take it off of your arms. I guess if you really have to take the project off of your arms, you can keep some type of bendable wire that you can stick through the stitches and get it off of your arms. And then you can bend. That's what I did. I actually, when I was arm knitting my blanket, I had to put the project down because I ran out of yarn. So what I did was I took a piece of bendable wire, I stuck it through all the stitches to get the stitches off of my arms, and then I bent it and attached the two ends so that I wouldn't lose any of the stitches. So you could do that, or if you have like an emergency where you have to stop doing a project really quickly, or if you have to use the bathroom or something, you could always just move all the stitches to one arm. That way you have another free arm and just pick up the balls of yarn and, go about doing what you need to do. So that's one question that I was getting. But the best thing was to just plan an hour of free time and sit down and try to finish the project in one sitting with no interruptions. Next question, how many stitches did you use for the infinity scarf, which was the first video that I posted, and also in the updated video? I did cast on 12 stitches for that scarf. In the video, I only did 6 stitches. That was just to make the video quicker, but I did cast on 12 stitches to make that scarf. Let's see, what's next? A lot of people are having problems with when you're making that first stitch, not when you're casting on, but when you're knitting your first stitch onto your left arm, or it can be your right arm, probably your left arm. It's really hard to tighten, and that's because you have to kind of pull on the working yarn. You have to pull on the working yarn while you're kind of like sliding the knot up to your wrist. It's really complicated, but if you watch my new video that has the tutorial for arm knitting a scarf with fringe, I do demonstrate it in that video. So go ahead, I'll put the link below for that, and you can watch that video if you've been having trouble tightening the first stitch of each row. Where did I get my yarn? I get all of my yarn at AC Moore. Every once in a great while I will go to Michael's, but they seem to be a little pricier. So I get 99% of my yarn at AC Moore. I also put links underneath my videos so that you can find them on Amazon and order them online if you want to do it that way. Let's see. How many skeins or balls of yarn do you use at one time? I always buy 2 balls of yarn if I'm making a scarf. That way I can pull a strand from each ball of yarn, use them both at the same time to make my scarf thicker, make the holes a little bit smaller. And what kind of yarn do you use? I always put the links underneath my videos. I guess that's the easiest way to answer that question. So if you ever want to know what kind of yarn I'm using in a video tutorial, just look underneath the video in the description box, and I will post links to the kind of yarn that I used, or I'll actually type the description of it out. Next question, can you make a slower video? The answer to that is no. It's time consuming to actually film a video and edit it and post it, and take pictures and edit the pictures and make sure I'm doing a good enough tutorial. It takes a long time. It takes a few hours, if not a full day. Like if I'm working, I also work. So to make a video just takes a long time. So I guess my suggestion for you would to just keep watching the video, watch my hands really closely, you know, watch the working yarn and the tail end of the yarn, and just see where it goes, and just keep watching until you figure it out. Next question, or this isn't a question, this is just a tip from me to you. When you're making your scarf or blanket, try to keep the stitches as tight as you can on your arm while still being able to move the stitches along your arm. That way you don't have loose, you know, slouchy looking scarves. I've had some people complaining that their scarf just didn't look right and it looked too loose. Well, all you have to do is tighten the stitches on your arm, and that'll solve that problem. Next question, how do you double up the yarn? You can see in my videos that I use 2 strands of yarn at one time. So what you want to do is buy 2 balls of yarn, and this is what I do. I buy 2 balls of yarn, that way I know I have enough for my scarf, and then I have a little left over for other projects. And I pull a strand from the center of each ball of yarn and use them both at the same time. It's that simple. You could pull a strand from each end of the ball of yarn, but it gets really twisted and it's more complicated for me that way. So just buy 2 balls of yarn. It's easier that way. Can you use thinner yarn? I get that question, and can you use more strands of yarn? You can use whatever yarn you want. If you buy thinner yarn, you're going to have a more straggly looking scarf or blanket. If you buy thicker, or if you use 5 or 6 strands of yarn at one time, probably looks better. If you use thinner yarn, you're going to have bigger holes. If you use more yarn or thicker yarn, you're going to have smaller holes. It'll look more full. It's common sense, really. And I think that was the last question. If you have any more questions, go ahead and leave them below, and I'll do my best to answer them. It's just hard to answer all of them as soon as, you know, or right away. I answer them as soon as I can. So I hope that was helpful. I will put all the links that I mentioned down below, and that's it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!